Footnotes from the Life Application Study Bible. Athens, with its magnificent buildings and many gods, was a center for Greek culture, philosophy, and education. Philosophers and other educated people were always ready to hear something new, so they invited Paul to speak to them at the meeting of the Areopagus, the high council of the city. Paul was deeply troubled by all the idols he saw everywhere in the city. The word translated trouble is the Greek word paroxeneto, expressing the experience of sudden, violent emotion. Paul was filled with a combination of anger and grief. Seeing people spiritually lost, blinded by Satan, and trapped in a pagan culture caused Paul to be in a state of emotional upheaval. Though highly educated, the Athenians were ignorant of the one true God. Paul turned his internal turmoil into positive action. He looked for opportunities to share about Jesus. Are you deeply troubled about the condition of people you don't know God? Let their lostness motivate you to learn about what they believe and use that as a stepping stone to share the message of salvation. The Epicureans and Stoics were the dominant philosophers of Greek culture. The Epicureans believed that seeking happiness or pleasure was the primary goal of life. By contrast, the Stoics placed thinking above feeling and tried to live in harmony with nature and reason, suppressing their desire for pleasure. Thus, they were very disciplined. For a time, this council, the Areopagus, met on a low hill in Athens near the Acropolis. As Paul stood there and spoke about the one true God, his audience could look down on the city and see the many idols, representing gods that Paul knew were worthless. Paul's address is a good example of how to communicate the good news. Paul did not begin by reciting Jewish history, as he usually did, for this would have been meaningless to his Greek audience. He began by building a case for the one true God, using examples they understood. The Athenians had built an idol to an unknown god for fear of missing blessings or receiving punishment. Paul's opening statement to the men of Athens was about their unknown god. Paul was not endorsing this god, but using the inscription as a point of entry for his witness to the one true God. Then he established common ground by emphasizing what they agreed on about God. Finally, he moved his message to the person of Jesus, centering on the resurrection. When you witness to others, you can follow Paul's approach, use examples, establish common ground, and then move people toward a decision about Jesus. Paul was well prepared to speak to this group. He came from Tarsus, an educational center, and had the training and knowledge to present his beliefs clearly and persuasively. Paul was a rabbi, taught by the finest scholars of his day, Gamaliel, and he had spent much of his life thinking and reasoning through the scriptures. Like Paul, we must be prepared to give a defense for what we believe in any situation. The more we know about the Bible, what it means, and how to apply it to life, the more convincing our words will be. This does not mean that we should avoid presenting the good news until we feel adequately prepared. We should work with what we have learned, but continue to seek to know more in order to be effective witnesses and be able to respond to people's questions and arguments. Paul explained the one true God to these educated men of Athens. Although these men were, in general, very religious, they did not know God. Christianity is talked about a lot today, but to most people, God is still unknown. We need to proclaim who He is and make clear what He has done for everyone through His Son, Jesus Christ. We cannot assume that even religious people around us truly know Jesus or understand the importance of faith in Him alone. God is revealed in His creation and is close to every one of us. Through His Holy Spirit, He lives within all who believe in Jesus Christ. But He is not trapped in His creation. He is transcendent. God is the creator, not the creation. This means that God is sovereign and in control, while at the same time, He is close and personal. We do not shape God to meet our needs. We serve Him as the holy God who loves us. If you find yourself trying to make God fit your expectations, ask Him to reveal Himself to you as he really is and to help you find your purpose in him. Paul did not leave his message unfinished. He confronted his listeners with Jesus' resurrection, future return, and coming judgment. The Greeks had no concept of judgment. Most of them worshipped many gods instead of just one. Paul did not hold back the truth. However, even though the concept of resurrection seemed unbelievable to them, Paul often changed his approach to fit his audience, but he never changed his basic message. Paul's speech received a mixed reaction. Some laughed, some wanted more information, and a few believed. Be bold and tell others about Jesus when given the opportunity. God is always moving in people's hearts, nudging them closer to accepting his gift of salvation. Even if only a few believers based on your witness, it's worth the effort.